The drama surrounding the Indiana Fever this season hasn't just played out on the court, it's been dissected, exaggerated, and twisted by the outside world until even the players themselves had to laugh at the rumors. And at the center of it all, Aaliyah Boston has emerged as the steady voice of truth. In a candid sit-down on Sue Bird's Bird's Eye View podcast, she peeled back the curtain on what life has really been like alongside Caitlin Clark, and what she revealed is far from the chaos people think they know. It's raw, it's real, and it's unexpectedly hilarious. When Clark first arrived in Indiana, all eyes were on how she would mesh with Boston. After all, the two had already shared one of the most unforgettable Final Four battles in recent college history, a game where Clark dropped 40 points on Boston's South Carolina squad. That kind of sting doesn't fade overnight. Boston admitted she had to face it head-on. In her own words, she told Caitlin straight up, "I just want to say I'm really upset that you did what you did in that Final Four game. You didn't have to go for 40 on our dome like that," was said with a laugh. But the honesty behind it showed exactly how grounded Aliyah is. And instead of sparking tension, it opened the door for connection. The two stars quickly moved past rivalry into something deeper, mutual respect and collaboration. That bond would only grow once they hit the hardwood together. Boston described how their chemistry works in ways stats can't capture. For her, it's about Caitlin's vision, her angles, her ability to find passes most players wouldn't even see. Boston, on the other hand, reads Caitlin's eyes like a playbook. She doesn't need words. She doesn't need a call. The second she sees Clark's eyes shift, she knows where to roll, when to seal, and how to finish. It's instinctual. It's why their pick and roll has quickly become one of the most feared in the league. But with Clark came the storm. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect. Every Fever game suddenly carried the weight of a playoff matchup. Every possession was magnified. Every missed connection became a storyline. Boston admitted those early weeks were overwhelming. Strangers online turned into body language detectives, analyzing every glance, every expression, every small frustration as proof of some imaginary feud. For Aaliyah, it reached a breaking point. Already someone who puts enormous pressure on herself. She didn't need trolls calling her the worst post player they'd ever seen, so she did the only thing she could. She logged off. And through it all, she never once blamed Caitlin. In fact, she praised her for what she's brought to the league. "Everyone loves Caitlin," Aliyah said, "and that brings so many eyes. That's great for us." She knew the spotlight was intense, but she also knew it was opportunity. People might tune in for Clark, but they leave noticing Boston, Mitchell, or Cunningham. That's how growth happens. What she pushed back against was the idea that chemistry happens overnight. It doesn't. It's built through battles, through setbacks, through time. And now, months later, their connection has only solidified. Still, the noise never stopped. Sheryl Swoopes had thrown fuel on the fire, hinting at deeper locker room drama within the Fever. But Boston put that rumor to bed with the kind honesty that cuts through all speculation. She recalled waking up from a nap before a game, only to log on and see people online declaring they hate each other. Boston walked into the locker room, laughed, and asked, "Girl, you good?" That was the so-called crisis. Nothing more than outsiders trying to read shadows. Inside, the Fever were fine. In fact, they were more than fine. They were bonding, building, and learning how to navigate being thrust into the spotlight. For Aaliyah, it all came back to one principle: protect the locker room. Let the outsiders talk. Let the media spin their stories. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what happens between those four walls and on the court. That resilience was tested when the playoffs came calling in 2024. The Fever's first run was short-lived. But for Boston, it was invaluable. Facing the Connecticut Sun, she saw firsthand how razor-thin the margin for error becomes. Connecticut's veterans knew how to pounce on mistakes, when to shift gears, how to close. The Fever, young and hungry, were right there, but not quite ready. Boston admitted she walked away believing that if they had pushed the series to a third game back in Indiana, they could have taken it. That belief didn't fade. It turned into fuel for the next season. By the time 2025 rolled around, the expectations had shifted dramatically. No more underdogs. No more growing pains. The Fever were now the hunted. With free agency moves, a coaching change, and the Caitlin spotlight burning brighter than ever, The pressure to win was undeniable. Boston welcomed it. She knew it wouldn't be easy. New faces, new systems, new chemistry takes time. But she also knew what would happen once it clicked. When you do figure it out, she said, it's going to be scary. Then came the setbacks. Injuries piled up, none bigger than losing Caitlin Clark mid-season. For a young team, that could have been the breaking point. Instead, it became a test of identity. From the very first meeting of the season, the message had been clear. Next woman up. Injuries happen, but the games don't stop. For Boston, that mantra carried them through. With Caitlin, the offense was lightning fast, transition heavy, a track meet where everyone had to stay ready. Without her, the game slowed, turned into a half-court grind where execution mattered most. It wasn't better or worse, it was different. And learning to thrive in both worlds made the Fever more dangerous. Of course, Clark's absence wasn't just tactical, it was emotional. Boston admitted it was tough watching a teammate like Caitlin go down, knowing how much she cares and competes. But that only gave the team more motivation. Every win, every gritty performance, was one step closer to being playoff ready for when Clark returned. And through it all, the veterans became the glue. Natasha Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and especially Sydney Colson held the team together. Colson, often seen as the team's comedian, revealed a side many don't see. A leader who knows exactly when to speak, how to calm, and how to lift spirits. For Boston, having that kind of leadership was priceless. Now, the Fever find themselves in the thick of a brutal semi-final battle with the Las Vegas Aces. 6 key players are banged up, the odds are stacked, and yet they're still standing. They've leaned into the chaos, turned injuries into opportunity, and adversity into identity. Head coach Stephanie White said it best, Aliyah Boston has been their rock. She's balanced ferocity with poise, anchoring the team not just with her play, but with her leadership. This isn't the same Indiana Fever team people doubted at the start of the season. This is a team forged through storms, tested under pressure, and sharpened by every rumor, injury, and setback. And as the series shifts back to Indiana, the energy is electric. They aren't just playing for a win, they're playing for a statement. Aliyah Boston didn't just show up this season. She leveled up. Through noise, through pressure, through injuries, she's proven what it means to be a franchise cornerstone. And alongside Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Fever, she's turning doubt into fuel and proving that this team is here to stay. So now the question is yours. What do you think of Aliyah Boston's journey with Caitlin Clark and the Fever? Do you believe Indiana has what it takes to shock the league and bring home a championship? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, so you never miss the next big moment in women's basketball.